Oh, snap. Boom, bap. Big C in the place to be. That goes to my wife. She's been telling me to do it for a while now. And I'll be like, no, honey, it doesn't go. But this is for you. Welcome to another episode of Just Yapping. So, on a serious note, I was thinking on this topic for a while. There have been past episodes that I said it took me a while to think about it. It's because there's so many topics that I can cover or we can cover to make people think about certain things in life and how the reaction is. I'm not too concerned about it, but it's just the point. Some people might say, hey, you really don't understand. But I do understand because I'm talking to you about it. So if I am talking to you about it, it means that either one, I've been associated with these certain topics, or maybe I've heard it, maybe I need some input. But for the most part, if I'm going to tell you something on this podcast show or in any episode that I have, it's because of experience, period. Right? And I know the outcome is different. That's why I want you people to comment and actually, let me know what's going on. So in our lifetime, in our walks of life, we are going to come across friends, family, just plain strangers. You always have to understand that each individual who walks this earth has a purpose and has a story. Through my life experience, I've never been associated with any substance. Maybe back in the day, I smoked a J, whatever, nothing crazy, right? No cocaine, no hard stuff, right? And if I ever drank alcohol, those were my younger years. Yeah, I drank, but I drank to the point where I already knew that enough was enough at one point. Were there ever any dark periods in my life? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Everybody has it. There was a time limit where I already knew that I had, enough to drink. So that was it. Now that I'm getting older, I'll have a beer or two and I'm good because I know my limits. I know my responsibilities and we move forward, right? But there's some who don't know that. It's a norm for some people. I touched bases with a good friend of mine that I've known for probably 35, plus years. And he actually came out and told me, because I've been wanting to know for a while, how have you been? What's going on? Tell me what's up. How's work? Is the family? Blase. And he just opened up to me and said, listen, I had a problem with pain meds. And I also pushed it to alcohol. I had an alcohol issue. And I was embarrassed to tell you, listen, and I told him, I was like, wow, I'm really happy that you came out and told me that stuff. We're grown adults now, and I get it. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. You might at the time feel embarrassed because you were going through it. And at that time you felt like, people do feel ashamed because it's a habit, right? It's a habit that can't be controlled. I mean, it can be controlled if you yourself get it controlled or under control. But it was like, I was embarrassed to tell you, I was like, listen, I can't judge you. I can't judge anyone. I don't have that right to judge you. But I really did appreciate that he came out and told me. And he said, listen, I'm good. I've been clean for over a year and a half now. I've found myself, I'm in a better place now. I do things differently. I can't be more proud of him. He knows he's my own boy. We've been friends for a really long time. We're not there at the physical to say, hey, to hold each other and to hug each other and be like, I'm here for you. But it's not a far drive or, even a phone call or even a text to say what's up, right? So my point to this whole thing is that those around you, you got to try and make sure once in a blue moon to make sure that they're okay, because you don't know what they're going through. And vice versa, they don't know what you're going through, right? Because some people hide behind substance and you'll never, ever, ever know. Like for me, when I was growing up, my older brother, God rest his soul, he was, in and out of prison. When he was young, when he was 17 was his first bit. As he got older, going into prison and coming out, the only way to get that fast money was actually selling drugs. And while you're selling drugs, you're probably going to use it because you want to know what the people are feeling. They keep coming back for more. So he did. He got addicted to it. And I recall one time my mom, who was a bartender, where my uncle owned a small bar where I lived, and we only lived right upstairs from the apartment building. I recall, because I always wanted to protect my mother in any way possible, because I knew that she had, the money to open up the business for the day. And then at nighttime she would close, but she had some really good friends at nighttime that would stay by her side when she closed up the shop. And then she went home to make sure she was okay, which was great. But me, I was probably 12 years old, and I always went, downstairs with her to make sure that she opened and no punk would come in and try to rob my mom. So here I am sitting, waiting for my mom to be okay. And here comes my brother. Now, I knew something was wrong because the look in his eye. The look in his eyes, he had that flaming, that fiend look. If you guys don't know what it is, look it up. Look it up on YouTube. And for those that know what I'm talking about, he had that itch. He had that, right? Like it was eating concrete. So I knew something was wrong from jump. And I see him. He didn't say hello. He didn't say anyone. He goes around the counter. He pushes my mother out of the way. He opens the cash register, and he takes every dime that was in there, even the pennies and the quarters and nickels and whatever. So here I go, 12 years old. I go to the pool where they play pool and grab the pool stick. And I was like, bro, put the money down. And he was like, you can go right ahead. Make sure you hit me hard, because if you don't knock me out, I'm coming for you. And I knew that if I did, one, I would feel bad because it's my brother. And two, I'm like, man, he's high. I don't know what to do. If I hit him, I got to run. But in all honesty, I was like, all right, you know what? Just don't come back. I'm going to call the cops on you, but just don't come back. I never did. I didn't call the cops. So fast forward, my mom was crying. I went over and consoled her, and I'm like, listen, everything's going to be okay. She's like, why did he do that? I told her, it was like, he was high and, and stuff like that. So she ended up, she had to obviously repay back it wasn't much back in the day. We're talking about in the mid 80s, 90s, and it wasn't much. But still, she had to repay that. So, life continued on. My brother, was back in and out of prison and, in and out of drugs and rehab and all that other stuff. I was around it for such a long time that people in my neighborhood always kind of like, even though I was younger in the neighborhood, kind of like had this thing for me. They kind of like looked up to me because I wasn't a part of that game. Even though there were drugs that slipped through my hands and, did this and did that. And I could have easily, like this, been hooked on drugs or alcohol. I could have I could have sold drugs easily, or I could have been in prison, or fast forward, I could have been dead. We all tend to point fingers at one another and say, oh, if this didn't happen, this is your fault. This is the reason why he or she is the way they are, addicted to drugs or alcohol. You can't blame one another. What you have to do is you have to seek help. I think the hardest, listen, I can't sit here and speak for you because I don't understand what you're going through. I can only imagine what you're going through for you to get to this point in your life, whether young or now that we're getting older. Some people find it the easy way out, and I don't mean to be disrespectful because I'm not. Some people, it's the easy way out because then they think like, oh, I'm going to get pity when I go ask for money to go buy what I need to go buy my next fix. Or, sad to say, both men and women will sell themselves to get what they need. Or steal from your own, right? Because it's happened in my family, to steal from your own. You know, you see your parents working hard and you do what you need and then you go steal from them to go get your next fix. With everything that you do in life, there's help, and those things can be fixed. Now, I don't know how far along some people are into their abuse, but it's really hard. And I've seen videos and I've seen things where people are just down into their last, they're scratching. There's already a hole on the bottom of the barrel and they're just trying to get out now. Don't worry about scraping the bottom of the barrel. They're already there. They're trying to scratch and get out of it because they don't know how to get up. There are people, and again, there are people that say, oh, nobody wants to help me. And, you know, I can't be like this. I need help. But, and then, you know, they get the help for like a couple of days and they're like, oh, I'm clean, I'm good. And then they meet up with, you know, the people that they hung out on the block. And guess what? They're snorting coke, they're smoking crack, they're doing meth, you know, they're doing heroin, they're whatever. They're drinking alcohol, they're getting however they're about to get high, they're going to do it. And that's sad. You know, here in New York, in the city, I don't know how many they are, but this is where I get kind of confused. I know addiction can be so prolonged in someone's life that there is no control. So my thing is, if the laws in this country say, hey, this is illegal, you cannot use it, you will go to prison. But then they allow, here in New York City, they have these things where they're like little medical clinics where people, junkies, I'm sorry to say, junkies, heroin addicts, those who have a serious abuse to heroin, go into these places which they're super clean. I'm not going to say invite, but they kind of like, you know, let the people come in there so they can shoot up. Literally. They'll go in there, they have clean needles, they do their thing, and if something happens to them in the process, they'll go and get the Narcan, get up and do it again or whatever. If I could be wrong with the Narcan, but I think that there's a medical team in there if something goes wrong. There's people in there for guidance. Like, if you're trying to, like, because I understand they want to reduce having that stuff out into the streets where a young kid or an adult or somebody could step on an infected needle and get whatever, God forbid, disease that's out there or whatever. They people shoot up in parks, which is disgusting and sad. They defecate in parks where children play. You know, they pee in the parks. They shoot up in the parks. They do whatever in the parks. They have sex in the parks. They do everything, which is really sad. But I wouldn't want my young child or kids in general, or even an adult, to go there and step on something or poke themselves. Granted, fine, fantastic. But I don't think that you should, you know, encourage, if I may say correctly, encourage people to say, hey, there's an injection party, come over and no, that's not the way to do it. I would rather seek help. I would rather get them help than invite them to do what they're not supposed to do, which is illegal, right? Illegal drugs. That's what it is. Illegal. You're not supposed to do it. Because I guarantee that if I was doing a favor for someone who was a heroin addict and I had a bag of heroin in my pocket and I get pulled over by the cops, guess where I'm going? I'm going to prison because I'm carrying heroin. And then what am I going to say? Oh, this is for my friend. He has an addiction. I'm just helping him out. They don't want to hear that. It's illegal. You're carrying an illegal substance in your pocket. You're going to jail. You're going to jail, period. So, again, I don't understand what people are going through. And some people say it's just hereditary, which is not true at all because, I mean, I know some people which their parents were heroin addicts and they're not heroin addicts unless I don't know about it, but I don't think so because they have a great family and they have, and mind you, let me correct myself. There are people out there that have great families, have fantastic jobs, that do well for themselves, that are, community affairs person, and they get high all the time. They shoot up without nobody knowing. They're alcoholics. In any profession, a nurse, a doctor, a lawyer, fireman, policeman, anybody, United States military, anybody. There's a substance abuse pandemic, epidemic, whatever you want to call it. And it's sad because we try to prevent, like the government tries and the local, enforcement tries to prevent these things from happening. There are, because you hear once in a blue moon, oh, there was a large cocaine crackdown or fentanyl, which is big, fentanyl crackdown, and that's it. The fentanyl thing is insane to me because now you have people using it to rob you. You get it? Like you touch it and supposedly you're supposed to like fall out, pass out and all that other stuff. And then they'll come and rob you or take you away. It's insane to me. If you're supposed to be the protectors of this country or any other country in the world, how are you letting it come in? Right? If I pay you to watch this door, if I say, hey, I want you to protect that door right there, don't let no one come in. And then when I come back home, there's 4 or 5 people in there. How is that possible if I told you not to let anybody in? So that's what's happening. And whose fault is it? The person who's at the door. It's obvious. So that's how things are getting in, period. Things are getting in because we're letting it get in. And you're telling me no one is in control of saying, hey, we need to stop. The thing is, it's a moneymaker. You're telling me like the local, law enforcement or the feds don't know about what's going on? They're like, it's a moneymaker. You kidding me? Bring that stuff in here. Let's get people high and let people knock off so we can make money off them. It's what it is. And then say, oh my God, we have an epidemic going on. Let's get more money in here. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. It needs to stop, especially with our young kids growing up. They don't need to be around that crap. The schools, my little guy, he's going into high school. And do I worry? 1,000,000,000%. I think high schools now are more dangerous. It don't matter where you live. I think high schools nowadays are more dangerous than they ever were when I was growing up and probably when my parents were growing up. Because now it's on the phone, on the computer, it's outside waiting for you, and a lot of things. There's more peer pressure for kids. Yo, hit this blunt. Yo, just take this real quick. Not kids not knowing what it is. There's been so many reports out there of kids going to parties and be like, yo, bro, you want a Skittle? Yeah, and take it. And you're not here anymore because it's laced with fentanyl. It's scary as hell. How did they get their hands on it? And then 2, like, why are you feeding it to people you know? That's insane to me. If you call yourself a friend to the kids you're hanging out with, why are you giving them something to kill them? Or to harm them. That makes no sense to me. I would go to a party just to chill and hang out and let the girls meet the boys and the boys meet the girls, or you want to meet whoever. That's what it was about. Now it's just like, yo, who's going to get high? And let me record them while they get high so I can post it on social media for my 15 seconds of glory, and and get all this nonsense, and then ruin a person's life. There's people out there that I can only imagine that get hurt at work or get into severe car accidents and all this other stuff, and then the first thing they feed you are pain meds, and then you can't get off it. I feel bad. That really breaks my heart, because here you were, you know, doing your good deed in life, and then all of a sudden you take medication that's going to help you, but it really doesn't. It's ruining you. And I feel bad. I'm sorry for you guys. I can't tell you enough, but if if you're listening or watching this podcast, the only advice that I have for you is, one, get up, dust yourself off, go to a clinic, and I know there are places out there that it costs money to get into these clinics. There's like free is not even heard of anymore, but I know there's clinics out there that you can get help. And I'm being totally honest. I don't think 30 days in a clinic is good for anyone. I don't. I think 30 days and then switch up and then go to another clinic, like almost like a school, freshman, right? Sophomore, junior, and so you go to different levels of those substance abuse clinics. Because I think after 30 days, it's just 30 days of not doing what you were used to doing. And then when you come out, you get that you get that scratch, you get that itch because you missed it for 30 days. Right? But I think if you do it on a continuous level and you do it on a continuous basis, you tend to because you're around people who were, obviously used drugs or alcohol or certain things, pain meds, and they're at the same place you are. So you guys are all going through the same stuff. So why not, and it's crazy because it's almost like being around the same people you were hanging around the block with to get high and do all that stuff. But no, they're for the same cause. They're there because they want to get clean. So why not chill with those people, right? Hang out with the people who are around you to try to make themselves better, not to continue to party and get worse. I'm not here to judge. Again, I'm not here to judge anyone because I don't know what you're going through. I just wish that whoever's has the power upstairs, whether you believe in God, whether you believe in a saint, whether you believe in somebody, those that have passed before us, our relatives and stuff, to maybe clear your mind and get you right and get you help, then be it. Then ask for help, because there's nothing worse and nothing sad than you going through something and you'll be like, oh, nobody wanted to help me. Because I do have to say, there are people out there that really don't give it about certain people or how they are, even in their own family. And I feel bad for them. But if they don't want to help you because you seek for help, then go somewhere where someone who cares will help you. I don't have any numbers that I can share because every state is different. Every town is different. Every village. My suggestion would be go to, listen, the cops nowadays are not, law enforcement right now, they're in a low, people don't like the police. I get it. But if you're going to seek help to get clean, talk to a cop and be like, hey, listen, I have a problem. I want to seek help. Can you help me out? Could you give me a number? It's kind of their duty to find you some kind of information and lead you in the right direction. Or go to the local EMS, or, go into a hospital, or just, go to where that the rehab place is for free. Just go. That's the hardest thing to do for anyone in life, is to get up and go and start something. That is the hardest. Like somebody who wants to exercise, it's hard as hell to get up and go start exercising, because it is. But once you do that first step, then your next foot steps on the ground and goes, and you move forward. And guess what? By that time, you're walking and you're running, and now you're kicking ass, right? So I hope that this podcast, because there's so many different other topics on substance abuse that I probably didn't cover, but I think you know the gist. It's around every community, whether poor or rich. It's around every party, whether poor or rich. It's everywhere. It's in your companies. It's in your departments. It's everywhere. People are using drugs. People are using alcohol. Look at famous people back in the day, and they're still doing it today to stay awake. They take a hit of that or take a drug of this. The famous people always have doctors close by so they can give them the remedy they need to continue on and make the next, they have a concert. They have a 30-day concert, one every night in a different city, a different town. What do you think? That they're Superman or Superwoman? No, they're taking stuff so they can stay awake, and then they become addicted to it, and then they use alcohol because they're going to a party and have a beer and it's everywhere. So you don't have to be shameful because you're addicted. You should be shameful that you're not getting help. That's what you need to do. You need to go get help. Reach out. There's people out there who are reaching out their arms. It's your duty to go and grab that arm and let them pull you to get you help. Now, again, I don't have that information. I wish that I did. Maybe next time, if I do another podcast on substance abuse, I'll have more information. But again, every state and every place is different numbers, different locations and everything. So to all my people who are addicted in some way or fashion, you have to get yourself help. And I wish you the best. And I pray for you. And to my dude that I was just talking about earlier, dude, I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you turned that stone over and you saw the clean side to that stone, right? And I'm glad you got help, and I'm glad that you're on the right path, and I'm proud of you, all right? And we'll be friends forever, and I'll never judge you, all right? So I think that's my time. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope everybody stays safe. Let's go Knicks. I'm Big C. Peace.